All right, let's talk about surface area of a solid with a compound base. So first of all, there's a formula for surface area that works for all right solids. And that formula is this. Surface area equals 2 times the area of the base plus the height times the perimeter of the base. Now, if you think about it, the reason it works is because there's two bases that are identical, so that's where this part comes from. And then if you're looking for the lateral surface area, the part that sort of wraps around, that's going to come from multiplying the height, which is the height of the prism here, by the perimeter of the base. So let's do this example. So the first thing I need to do is my 2 times area of base. So I'm going to write 2, and then I'm going to put some brackets here. And then I need to figure out the area of the base. So this base is made out of 2 semicircles, and we know that the area of a semicircle is radius squared times pi divided by 2. So I'm just going to add these 2 semicircles. So this first one's 8 is the radius, so I'll do 8 squared pi over 2 plus the area of the other half circle, which is this one. And the radius is 6, so it'll be 6 squared pi over 2. The next part is the height. And when it's talking about the height, it's talking about the height of the solid, which is given. It's 6 meters. I'm not putting units in yet just because it takes up too much space. And then the perimeter of the base. So we know that the perimeter of, or the circumference of a semicircle is just radius times pi. Since it's just a half circle, it's not 2 pi r, it's just radius times pi. So if I'm looking at this curve, the length of this curve is 8 pi, just radius times pi. The length of the bottom curve would be 6 times pi. And then I have these 2 little pieces here that sort of stick out. So to figure out what those 2 are, I could take the larger radius minus the smaller radius, which is 2. So that means this is 2 meters and this side is also 2 meters, which makes a total of 4 meters. Now that I've filled in the basics for my formula, I've got the height, I've got the perimeter, I can start to simplify. So luckily for me, I'm doing 2 times the area of base, but I'm also dividing these areas by 2 because they're half circles. But when I'm multiplying and dividing by 2, these things sort of undo each other. So I can actually cancel out these 2's, because if I actually multiplied these by 2, the 2's would cancel out, right? Because 2 over 2 is 1. So now I have just 8 squared pi, which would be 64 pi. And then I have 6 squared pi, which would be 36 pi. And then I can simplify a little further here. I can add the like terms within the parentheses. So I'm going to have 6 times 8 plus 6 is 14. So I have 14 times pi plus the 4. Now I can continue to simplify. I can add these 2 terms because they're both pi terms. So 64 plus 36 would be 100. I have 100 pi plus, now I'm going to have to use the distributive property here. So I'm going to take the 6 and multiply it not only by the sum of these 2 arc lengths, or these 2 parts of the circumference, but also by the 4. So 6 times 14. 6 times 14 gives me 84 pi. And then 6 times 4 is 24. Now I have more like terms, I can combine these 2. So I'm going to get 184 pi plus 24. This is as much as I can simplify. So I'll just add the units now, which is meters squared, since I'm talking about area. Let's do another example. This is a slightly more complicated solid. So you can see the area of the base here is a trapezoid plus a semicircle. So the same formula is going to apply. Surface area equals 2 times the area of the base plus the height of the solid times the perimeter of the base. So first I'd like to focus on the area of the base. The base is a compound shape. It's made out of a trapezoid and a semicircle. So let's find the area of the base. The area of the base is actually equal to the area of the trapezoid, so I'll say AT plus ASC, where SC is the semicircle. So I'll start with AT. I'm going to do some side calculations here before I actually plug it into the formula. So the area of the trapezoid, the formula for trapezoid is the height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. And so the height of this trapezoid would be the same as the diameter of the circle, which would be 14. And then the sum of the bases, the first base is 19, the second base is 7, and then I divide everything by 2. So I can add 19 plus 7, I would get 26. And then the 14 and 2 I can cancel here and make this a 7. So I have really 7 times 26, which is 182. Now I can go ahead and do the area of the semicircle, which we know is the radius squared times pi divided by 2. The radius is 7, so I have 7 squared pi over 2. And 7 squared is 49, so it's 49 pi over 2. So knowing that my area of the base is just the sum of these two, I can start to plug these things into my formula. So I have 2 times the area of the base, which would just be 182 plus 49 pi over 2. Now I can continue and do the height. Now the height is 11 yards. It's given here in the problem. It's the height of the solid, not to be confused with the height of this trapezoid. 11. And then I have to do the perimeter of the base. So the perimeter of the base is going to take some more side calculations. So the perimeter of the base is just the sum of all the sides of the base. So I'm going to add 19 plus 2 times radical 85 plus 7 plus this arc length, which would be 7 pi. So the perimeter of the base would be 7 plus 19 plus 2 times the square root of 85. I don't know why I wrote 84, but that's 85, plus 7 pi. So that simplifies. We can combine like terms. We get 7 plus 19, which is 26, plus 2 rad 85, plus 7 pi. And so that's what's going to go in the second bracket here, because we have the height, now we have the perimeter of the base, so I'm going to substitute it in. So I have 26 plus 2 rad 85 plus 7 times pi. Now the rest is simply simplifying what I have. So I'll start with the distributive property and do 2 times 182, which gives me 364. Now the 2, if I multiply the 2 by the second term here, the 2's cancel here, so I just have 49 pi. And then I have 11 times 26, which is 286, plus 11 times this thing. So when I multiply these, I actually just multiply the coefficient. So 11 times 2 is 22, but then I leave the radical the same. And then finally 11 times 7 would be plus 77 pi. And now I have some like terms. So my regular numbers, 364 plus 286 can be added together to get 650. My pi numbers can be added together. I have 77 plus 49, which is 126 pi. And then my radical number, it's not a like term with any of them, so I would just write it after. And then finally, I just add the unit, which is yards squared, because we're talking about area again. So if you just follow the formula every time and fill in the values, then you can calculate it.